Hello, welcome to the THC Show. I'm your host Neil Magnuson. This is the show where we talk about truth, hope, and change. Those three very important things in navigating planet Earth here. And I should say that on the show today we will have 8 out of 10 Glenn from CannaMatch.ca join us for the 420 session, and that'll be a very special one for him. And so, this is a show where we talk about the pursuit of freedom with respect to access to cannabis. Freedom in general, of course, because that's at the root of what we're looking for. Cannabis, because that's the most obvious and glaring example of how we're not free. And in this case, we've been focusing primarily on the pursuit of cannabis for the use of medical people and people that have all kinds of different serious medical issues that use cannabis and need access to cannabis. And that includes those people that are struggling with addiction to opioids and other street drugs, where now we have a tainted drug supply and people have been dying of that. And we're here right now in Vancouver on the downtown east side. We're broadcasting from what was our low barrier access community cannabis store that we operated for 4.5 months up until 10 weeks ago, where we were evicted from here because we couldn't get a license, because we couldn't get Health Canada to give us a temporary exemption, and we're still waiting on all of that. It's been basically 4 months since we put in an emergency application to the federal government to give us a temporary exemption from the legalization laws of cannabis that would allow us to continue to do what we've been doing here on the downtown east side for almost 4 years now with respect to helping people get access to cannabis to help them offset the use of opioids and other drugs. So this has been going on for all of this time, and over the last 10 weeks we've been under siege at times. We were raided by the Vancouver police, who've now left us alone for a while. I think they're also waiting to see what Health Canada does. Health Canada has said that they're going to, early January, they said they should have probably an exemption for us to be able to continue. Not that we're not continuing, because we have continued. We've not stopped for a moment to do what it is the right thing to be done here. But we're here on the front lines, on the ground, in the trenches, dealing with it head on, face to face, figuring out what people need to help them transition off of the drugs that they've been addicted to and been relying on for their issues, and trying to make all of that work. And in the face of great resistance from the powers that be, from our public servants and those people that are in charge of whether or not we as people are even allowed to help people in the ways that work for them. And all of this is so crazy, but it's been going on for a very long time. And cannabis is this plant that grows in most climates around the earth. They figure that maybe it started in Nepal or in Tibet or in India or other places. We're not sure, but it goes back thousands and thousands of years, and it goes back way, way farther than that, as is evidenced by the endocannabinoid system that is shared by all the vertebrates on the planet. That is a system that mimics the different chemistries in the cannabinoids, that regulates all the other systems in the bodies of these vertebrates and ourselves. And so that's evidence that the cannabis plant has been on this planet and in a relationship with us for millennia. And this plant has been part of cultures throughout history. In many ways it was traded for and prized and used for so many different things. 3,000 years ago there's evidence of it being in the pharmacopoeia in China, and on all of that goes, leading up to where the explorers who discovered North America from Europe were using cannabis and hemp for the rigging on their ships, for the sails on their ships, for the food that they ate, for all sorts of different things. It was a huge part of all of these cultures. It was a huge part of the North American culture. In fact, for Europeans that were arriving on the shores of North America and in America specifically, they were given land to settle on by the federal government, and that included some stipulations that they had to follow, including that they had to grow cannabis, they had to grow hemp. It was a mandatory crop from 1617 to 1819, something like that. No, not quite that far. But anyway, check that history, and you will see that cannabis has been this extremely valuable, useful, beneficial commodity that's been available to human beings throughout all cultures for so many years. And then we come up until the 1930s, where cannabis is a big part of North America. It's a big part of the food chain for the domestic animals. It's a big part of the manufacturing of all kinds of different things, like I said, from sails and riggings and many other things like that. And there becomes a machine called the decorticator that was going to be able to separate the stalk from the fiber and the herd. And that was going to revolutionize the ability to use this plant for all the different industrial purposes that it was being used for. Popular Mechanics said that cannabis would be the first billion-dollar crop in America. And there were some other things that were going on at the same time, where the Rockefellers had secured the rights to fossil fuels, and Henry Ford had devised an automobile that was going to sweep the nation and put a huge demand on fuels of some sort, where ethanol was the viable fuel at the time, and cannabis was the best source of ethanol. And all of that stuff played into this whole history, along with, if you look into the early 1900s along the U.S. border, where there was issues with immigration, and there was jobs that were being lost to the Mexicans, and a whole history of how all of a sudden this amazing commodity, this plant that we have this amazing symbiotic and beneficial relationship with, turned into this evil drug that there's been a war fought against, and we've been using our tax dollars to put down and telling lies about, and all the rest of it. It's just such an amazing history of how greed and corruption can get involved into our so-called democratic system and pervert things so much that, you know, we spend so much of our time and effort trying to discourage and restrict and prohibit people from using this plant that is actually only beneficial, and it's only dangerous to the bottom line profits of other industries, and all of that huge upside down, backwards and inside out part of our world and my life and our history here. I mean, I recently saw that in Indiana, for example, from 2010 to 2018, 45% of all drug arrests were for simple possession of marijuana. That colored people in Indiana during that time were 3.5% more likely to be charged with possession of marijuana than their white counterparts, even though the actual possession rates for each side was about equal. And on and on. I mean, I just cherry-picked one statistic there. It's been a crazy run of manipulating the truth and trying to exploit people and monopolize markets and all of that is all based on lies, that has screwed things up so badly that we've gotten to where we are now. So we made it through 2020, just barely, but we did. And 2020 was a bit of an eye-opener, and it did put a lot of things into clear perspective, although there's a lot more to be learned yet, and we certainly can't see the other side of this forest that we're in yet. But we've learned a lot, and it has been an eye-opener, and especially, you know, on the cannabis file, on the legalization and prohibition and all of that to do with cannabis. Because, you know, here we are, we're now a couple of years into the federal government in Canada legalizing cannabis, or at least that's what they will tell you, that's what they want everybody to believe, and it's just so-called fake legalization, because all of the different mechanisms of government that were in place to prohibit cannabis are still operating and still, you know, making their money off of prohibition. And almost all of the people that were involved in the marketplace for providing cannabis to people in Canada are still criminals and still, you know, subject to huge fines and even imprisonment for, you know, being outside of the government system. And the government system isn't one that can be supported by the people that are in the cannabis culture. It's very difficult to do that, although some people from our culture have gone and worked and are working on that side of things, and hopefully they're working for good. Because what's going on is not good. It's not what we were fighting for. This is not the legalization that we've been protesting and demanding for so long. This is a government takeover of the cannabis industry, while at the same time a huge attempt or a real strong attempt to wipe out the culture that's been involved in trying to legalize cannabis and protest these laws for so long. It's been very divisive, it's been very confusing, and still we have a government that is spending all kinds of money prohibiting things. We have some music in the showroom. This is good, spontaneous music, because you know, there's a phone been left on. I love live streaming, you know, in a non-studio setting, because a little brevity is a good thing. And you know, things were getting a little seriouser with what I'm talking about, because you know, this has been enveloping my life. It's been consuming the time and the life of so many people that I know. Tens of thousands, if not millions of people worldwide have been consumed with trying to stop the lies about cannabis, to just get reasonable access. That's all we're looking for, is reasonable access. So we've been through all of this for all of this time, and they've spent like literally trillions of dollars globally on just trying to prevent people from getting access to cannabis or even learning how valuable it is. There's been great efforts to stifle information and all of that kind of stuff. And of course, in a war, the first victim is the truth, and that's all obviously the case in the war against cannabis consumers, is all the lies that we're told. But you know, cannabis is one of the most studied plants and studied drugs, if you will, in all of the whole spectrum of those things, from the early studies out of India in 1894 up to the present day. There have been so many studies on cannabis, and what it's proven is that it is really valuable medicine. It's an anti-inflammatory first and foremost with respect to its medicinal qualities. Anybody who understands illness and disease understands that inflammation is at the root of most of those things. And cannabis has all of these amazing benefits and none of those downsides. It is literally the safest plant in nature. I mean, that declaration was made by a DEA judge back in 1989. Francis Young declared that cannabis is one of the safest therapeutically active compounds found in nature. So, you know, it seems ludicrous that we would even consider trying to restrict it, let alone use the criminal law to restrict it. But that's what's been going on, and people have had their lives ruined, and we've wasted all of this money, and so many people have not been able to access cannabis. And so that's why we're still where we are here. It's 2021. We have so-called legalization here in cannabis, where, like I said, it's nothing but a takeover of the industry by insiders and people with a lot of money, with the government artificially inflating prices. Excuse me, getting excited again. But you know, they're lying still about cannabis. They're still stigmatizing the cannabis users. They're using all of that to keep the price up there where it's just ridiculous. I mean, cannabis is unlike any other plant in the marketplace with respect to how safe it is to use, with having an LD50 rating that's unattainable, and one of the most beneficial plants compared with all of the other plants. But just like all of the other plants and fruits and herbs that are in our environment that you can go and purchase and trade for, it's a similar plant to grow. In fact, it grows more biomass per cubic foot than most plants do, and it doesn't require a whole bunch of effort, although you can put a lot of effort into it. But cannabis does not take that much more to bring to market, if any more, than any other plant out there. And yet here the government is saying, okay, you know, we public servants will allow you masters to have access to this plant. Thank you. You know, please thank us very much for that. And yeah, you're going to pay like 1,000 times more than what any other plant out there in the marketplace costs. And somehow that's all okay. And somehow we're supposed to be all right with that. And somehow we're supposed to still be all right with SWAT teams and law enforcement and people with guns breaking into people's homes and stealing their plants and stealing flowers and charging them and fining them and imprisoning them. We're supposed to still be all right with all of that going on in the world, while in the corner the government's trying to sell you the same thing that people just want to grow for themselves and their friends, and the government's selling it to you and you got to go there. I mean, this is such an obvious, blatant protection racket of such criminal nature and of such extreme monies involved. The amount of dollars and cents that's involved in this protection racket for this particular thing that's going on here in our society is just so criminal. It is so wrong. And so we all need to wake up about that. We all need to demand that we have a complete review of everything now. Because obviously we can't trust these people. They've just shown themselves to be what they are. They lied to us about legalization, making sure that the medical people would have access. Trudeau, right out of his mouth, said a number of things that were complete and utterly opposite of what they've done. He said that they were going to get the prices right down so the underground market would not be able to exist, because you'd be able to get good quality cannabis at prices that were so reasonable that you would never buy off of anybody else. And certainly they've not done that. They've done the opposite of that. They've driven people right back to the underground marketplace, with the high prices that they're charging. I mean, he said that people with the need to access through storefronts and medical access would be much improved with legalization, and that there'd be no problem with that. It would all just kind of mesh in there. And so that was a complete lie as well. They've spent all kinds of our money going after these dispensaries and closing them all down and making sure that there's no medical access. And by their own definition, legalization is about the non-therapeutic use of cannabis, like as if that's even possible, and it's not. But they don't want to admit that they're medical. They're non-medical, and they don't want to touch that side of it, even though all these medical people need access to cannabis. And we have this side-by-side epidemic going on along with the pandemic, where we have so many people dying of overdose from a poison drug supply because they're addicted to opioids, in many cases because of overprescription by doctors or early taking them off of prescriptions by doctors. But whatever is the cause of all of this opioid use, we have that going on. Cannabis is a viable option and will help people go through the edibles, not the smoke. Don't get me wrong. It's 4:19, so roll them if you got them. I got one more minute to finish my rant. But that's what's going on. It's just a most ridiculous, opposite, criminal, upside-down, wrong thing that you can imagine. And this is happening in our world, in our lifetime, and we're the ones that have to do something to turn this around. So let's find some ways to do that. Let's have some hope that we can now expose them for what they are and get this thing turned around properly so sick people can have access and people that want to get off opioids can have access, and just ordinary people that just want a plant that is very beneficial and helps them feel good, that they can get reasonable access. So we'll continue the quest for the community cannabis store next to you soon, but right now it's coming up to 4:20, and as always on my show, I have my guest Glenn Wells, but unlike any other day, today's his birthday. So happy to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, Mr. Wells, happy birthday to you. And we got more. Wow. There's much more. We got this here. Wow. And now what else we got? We got something else for you?
Alright, there you go. Put that there.
Glenn is one of the most giving people I've ever met, and he tries to make sure that everybody feels appreciated and remembered in all that he does. So he's the one guy that we have to show we appreciate and remember.
Oh, thank
so
you.
Nobody else gets this kind of treatment. I'm not going to look in your bag.
This stuff is from Mary, and
Okay.
there's some chocolates from Landlord.
Oh, nice. Thank you, Landlord.
We've got some of Damien's cookies in there. All the bakers for the CSP contributed. We got Mary, we got Damien, we got Michael the Cookie Monster.
Wow.
So,
thank you guys.
Yeah,
Wow,
and,
some weed too.
Yeah.
Some Granddaddy Purple.
Robert Stafford.
Hey,
What's going on?
Even Kara likes to party.
No. I guess that was a bad idea, eh?
I don't know. I thought it was a good idea.
Yeah, I
Here,
know.
I'll hold them.
You hold them, or
Sure.
you can put them in the bag.
What's going on? Can you have one? Can you have one?
Ah, nice. Sorry, I don't mean to probe.
It had your likeness on it.
Yes, does it? All right, let me spark up my joint. Thank you, guys.
Okay, yeah, it is 420,
Nice.
right?
Birthday, Glenn.
Thank
It's
you.
420.
Thank you, guys.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for the cakes. Wow. There you go.
Oh, bye-bye, balloons.
Now what do you
Oh, look, I just realized they gave you blue balls for your birthday.
Whoa, Jen.
And that brings us to CannaMatch.ca.
Yeah,
We're
well,
suffering from
We'll
blue
have to talk
balls.
about that later.
There's enjoying the toe.
Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you,
we'll go for that
everybody.
one.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Glenn. You've
Yeah.
been a great addition over the last while.
Yeah.
It's been a year.
Hopefully you'll keep me around. I enjoy coming here on Tuesday.
Well, we enjoy having you, of course.
Thanks, guys.
It's always fun, and then you keep us up to date on one of the more important things in our environment, especially during this time
Yeah.
with what's going on in the world, and that's CannaMatch.ca.
That's it.
Glenn is the founder of CannaMatch.ca, and
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about
Yeah,
that.
I've been advertising it more and more and more. People have lost their, lovers or whatever, So
It's a lonely time.
it is.
It's a lonely time
it's
for
a great
people.
place to reach out and meet people.
And
we've
people
had some
that
activity.
appreciate the herd.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Like Cato.
And last week we told about that story that Eric, his friend, had met somebody on CannaMatch, so
Yeah,
that's
oh,
great.
yeah. Right? And
What? No?
So it's-
Come on, you guys, let's go. It's birthday time to
birthday.
smoke. So what we got here? We got some White Widow. Nice. Some
Although apparently, according to
Granddaddy.
the boys, it might actually be cheese.
And Purple McGrump.
these are all things you can get at the Healing Wave RV.
cookies.
RV stands for reefer van, by the way.
Oh, I love these. A doobie? What's in there?
Andrew rolled that. There's all
Oh.
kinds of good surprises.
Oh,
there's shatter.
nice. Thank you very much,
Shatter
guys.
in
There's
there.
some of
Oh,
Robert's
wow.
caramels, 150 milligrams each,
Okay,
and the CBD taffy as well.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so just one caramel at bedtime.
And with the CBD, and you'll sleep like a baby.
Yeah, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we got you for your birthday, Glenn, was the Canucks are going to play hockey tomorrow.
Okay, that's good. Are they going to play in Edmonton, my favorite place?
I think they're playing in Edmonton.
Oh, that one.
My hometown is your favorite place.
No.
Connor
I
McDavid,
was being sarcastic and I already knew that they were
put your arm
playing.
in there.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Be like a kid, eh? There we go.
And do we have a prediction for the game?
For tomorrow?
Yeah.
One team will win, one team will lose.
Well, I guess may the best team win.
I'm going to say 2-1 for Vancouver.
For Vancouver.
We'll see.
I'm hoping for a few more goals. I
Well,
think,
it's the first game,
that's too much.
right?
This is,
Well, there's no chatter in here. It's just me.
oh, I know, but look
Yeah.
at the size of that thing.
Well,
it's
come on,
so
it's
shared.
birthday, right? Yeah. Huh? There's more.
I'll
Yeah, see,
say,
he's got his own.
I'll say
Oh,
4-2
thank you,
Canucks.
Carly, and thank you, Carly, for the cake.
Yeah, that's
Carly,
so
Carly's mentioning here, and for the gifts, I got
Yeah,
a couple of T-shirts.
She even brought me a little gift bag.
Did she?
I didn't open it yet, but I'm
Nice.
excited.
Yeah. It says
So,
it's like a T-shirt with the Wii from Sony Wii, but it's got a D at the end of it, so it's weed. That's pretty good. I like that. And then the other one was I can't remember the other one. But I can't
this
remember.
is very phallic.
It is. I know, right?
With that.
It's like you're giving the finger.
Yeah, but on their planet, the finger could be
Maybe it's just a really big
could be
joint.
the way
It
they
could be, yeah.
shake
It's
hands.
green. That's good. It's on there, but I do hope your day is out of this world. Thanks. Oh, nice.
They're trying to get rid of you.
Yeah, I know, eh?
Try to send it to
Hope your
another
day is
world.
out somewhere else.
Yeah.
So what are we gonna do with this?
Eat.
We're gonna eat
Do
some
you want
of
to
that.
eat while you're doing the show?
I don't know.
No. Do you
No.
want to do it after? Yeah,
Maybe
we can.
after.
Yeah. So that's what I
It
was
looks
thinking.
pretty good.
Yeah,
It does.
it does. We could always have a piece afterwards.
I like flour.
No, I won't do that. You again.
Is it medicated?
If I know Carly,
You didn't find out.
it could be.
No, because
She would tell you.
Isabel would be getting some of the cake, and so she probably wouldn't make it medicated, right? So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Okay, so
That's a good divvy.
Word.
This is the Grape Stomper that I won. I bought 14 tickets at $10 and I won a quarter pound of weed.
Nice.
Yeah, from Ontario.
This is Ontario weed?
It's Ontario weed, yeah. Yeah, it made it here in time for my birthday.
All right.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ontario.
Yeah. Shout out to X13, they grew it.
Oh, and Neil, flip it around. Show the really cool filter.
Oh yeah, they get
Or
some
on one
really
of the
cool
joints,
filters.
yeah.
Now that's from Custom what?
Custom Smoke?
Custom Smoke Canada, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I love that you're not
can
sure.
well, because I'm stoned and I wasn't
Yeah.
thinking about, but
So your
yeah,
birthday joint
you can
is
find them on
stoned.
my page. There's a link for Custom Smoke. Just give it a click. They got lots of great stuff. They have Cannagars too.
Nice.
Yeah, they have a deal where you supply it and they'll roll it for you.
Oh, you mean like show this end where it looks like a pot leaf?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's what you're
That's
talking about.
We had the box. There's some of them have
What
wooden
else do you
ones.
think the filter is?
Some of the-
Oh, just that, you know, the filter seemed to be like whiter than the rest, and I thought it was a
think he's
special
stoned,
wraparound
too.
wrap. Oh, yeah. And I might be stoned too.
You might be.
Perhaps.
I have consumed cannabinoids. Officer.
Ossifer.
I have inhaled the magical vapors.
Oh yes.
Home honey, I'm
There it
high.
Custom Smoke Canada. There it is. And I'm gonna put the link up in there. So
I hope you're having a good session at home there
Yeah.
as well. As
And,
we're just chilling here for a minute or two. while
and then we got Aerofresh to say thank you to.
All right, you say thank you to
Oh,
whoever
thank you
need
very much,
to.
Aerofresh.
I want a cut of your royalties.
No royalties. My friend.
How did I
Mike,
get
yeah.
stuck with
I was
it?
gonna
Oh,
say,
yeah, you want to pass it around.
Jeez.
We changed his name from Neil to Bogart.
Neil Bogart.
Neil Bogart. No, never.
Well, at least
It's
this
a-
time
well,
you didn't talk to the one.
Okay, I got a couple minutes. I'll tell you the story then. All my life, it was always past the joint.
Yeah.
It was always passed to the left. It's
Yeah.
just what we did, and I got super in the habit of doing that. But old habits die hard. This is true. But since, I don't know, it's been 20 years or something like that since I've been hanging around at cannabis culture. But really, in the last several years, more as things progressed. And everybody's got their own joint there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you try to pass somebody a joint, and they're like, yeah, I got it going on,
my
man.
own, yeah.
So, I got in the habit of just smoking my own joint. And so now I'm really bad about it. I mean, a joint gets to me and I just hang on to it. I just sit there and smoke it, and the next one comes, and now I got two of them. And then,
Yeah, I think joints are for sharing. But
So it
when
broke
we
the
smoke
habit.
at home by ourselves, it becomes a habit. And then when you're smoking with
I mean, I
friends,
used to,
you
just
catch
like
yourself.
everybody else, I used to pass joints to people that weren't smoking weed that had already told me three
Yeah.
times they didn't want me to
Yeah.
pass them.
But
the
they were
joint. You
just
still
in the
just,
circle.
it's habit. But I've managed to break that habit, and now I'm in the bad habit of not passing it on when I should most of the time. Anyway,
It's always nice to pass.
as
your
long
joint.
as it's all for fun, right? As long as nobody
fun for
loses an
all.
eye, it's all good. Life is all about that. It's just about perception.
Yeah.
You know, people are so worried about hurting other people's feelings, and that's good. You know, you should not want to hurt other people's feelings. But lots of times you say shit that hurts other people's feelings, and you didn't intend to hurt their feelings at all.
Yeah.
Now, maybe if you knew better, you would have, but you know what I mean? So people should stop having their feelings hurt so much, because it's all about perception, and they should recognize whether somebody's trying to hurt their feelings or not, and not get their feelings hurt so bad so easy. Because, you
Yeah.
know, call me anything but late for dinner. I'm good with it. I don't care. You know.
All right,
It's-
Chucky.
I won't believe you if you really try to insult me. You'd have to really try to convince me on that one. I'd think you're kidding, or I wouldn't care about your opinion. But, you know, not everybody else's opinion is mine. I hope not everybody else's opinion is yours. But,
good. That's
you
what
know,
my opinions
try to
are.
have the opinions of people that are saying things that make sense that you like. So, anyway, that's my little piece for the moment. So, yeah, that's it. 420 moments over, so stick with me for a minute, because we're going to talk a little bit about what
it's
we
my
always
birthday.
talk
I'll hang
about.
around. How's that?
That's what I want you to do.
Are you
So
leaving,
thanks
David?
you guys for
Yeah, thank you very
coming in
much.
and helping.
Thank you guys. Thank you for the cake too.
If you're outside, we'll see you out there shortly. We're not going to be too long, and we're going to be out there.
Alright, take off and look at a tortoise.
Okay, I'm getting too high.
Wanna
Somebody else
look
want
at
to
a
help me with
tortoise?
this?
Oh wow!
Take that away from me. Help me, help me.
Help me, Rhonda. Help me.
I'm drowning in weed.
All right, thanks guys.
You know, it's been a wonderful, wonderful weed world.
Yeah.
So this is the part of the show where normally, and we're still... No, I'm not letting that right now.
Oh, no? Okay.
Jeez, you know.
That one will probably last him like 4 days.
Was it on last week's show that I mentioned that there was this Vancouver police expert on marijuana in the courtroom that made a couple of stupid statements, but the one thing she said that kind of stuck with me that was kind of accurate was that you cannot get more benefit. And
Yes.
I love that she used the word benefit
Yeah.
out of cannabis after you smoked a couple of the best joints or grams that are available. That after that, it's just a waste of money. And this would be a waste for whatever it is that's nice in there.
All right.
So I got to hold on to that because I'm about as high as you can get on the net right now.
More?
You again? Nope.
You considered it. No.
Nope.
Well, you never know until you ask, right?
It's true. Feel
That's
free
it.
to
Yeah,
ask.
you
It's
always
all,
feel-
it's all
feel free
good.
to
I
ask.
recognize the intent. You know? And even if it's mean, I'm not going to believe you. You'd have to convince me of that. But so yeah, this is the part of the program where we talk about the real access to medical for cannabis for people through the Martin Medical Moment. And the Martin Medical Moment involves this fellow Jerry Martin. If you've watched the show before, you've seen Jerry on the show. Although he wasn't here last week, he's suffering from some health issues. He's got a lot of stress on him, and it's all part of his journey. And again, today he's not feeling up to being on the show, but he will be back. And there's not much new to report with Jerry. But the old is that he's a dispensary owner, a fellow that was from a small town in Saskatchewan, and after having lived a rough life and feeling like he wanted to give back and was asked to open a dispensary in his small town, and he did that, and he ran his dispensary for 4 years and had 1,000 people on the membership of this dispensary. He was running it as properly as he could, using the protocols set forth here in Vancouver for the Vancouver Compassion Club and the Victoria Compassion Club with Philippe Lucas and Riel Kapler. And he really wanted to be, nice, you guys go, I'm good. I'm still able to talk. Any more would be a waste, that's what I'm telling you.
Sure.
So he wanted to be a dispensary owner that could be in the mainstream, like all dispensary owners wanted to be. None of the dispensary owners wanted to be illegal dispensaries, running afoul of city bylaws, possibly facing fine and much worse. So all the dispensary owners wanted to be mainstream. He was in a small town in Saskatchewan. He did it as properly as he could. And, always had to have a doctor confirming diagnosis and all of the rest of it. But after 4 years, and on a promise of legalization from the current Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, instead of being brought into the mainstream, being licensed to do what he had been doing for 4 years and helping over 1,000 people, they told him to shut down and to cease and desist operations and apply for a government license for a non-medical store. And that's not going to help all the people that he's helping. Nope. And you can't do that. I mean, we've explored that on the program, but I mean, just give it a little bit of thought. You're somebody that's helping over 1,000 people get access to cannabis as medicine, and most of these were elderly people that he was dealing with in his part of the town there, and using it for serious medical conditions. And then you're being told by a government that's been corrupt through the whole thing. You've been illegal since the beginning anyway, and now they're going to tell you,
illegal.
Close down because now you can be legal if you apply. Well, you can't stop helping people. So, he respectfully declined their offer to close down and continued helping people, hoping still that he would be able to be eventually grandfathered in and made legal. And instead they came and arrested him one day. They subsequently seized his property, his bank accounts, his cars, and he's been facing prosecution on this for over 4 years. It's been more than 4 years since that arrest happened.
Really
he's been before the courts over 40 times, on to his second prosecutor now. All of this costing taxpayers just a humongous amount of money. He's lived under the threat of serious prosecution, of going to jail. And that has affected him greatly, as it would anyone. Probably even more than that, just the fact that he's been denied the ability to help people, that he's been branded a criminal, that he's facing potential jail time for all he did was help people and insisted that he would help people, even though the governing body says stop helping people. I think if I don't care if it's not a fucking democracy with freedom or anything. I don't care if it's a kingdomship. I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
But if the Lord and Master says stop saving somebody's life, I say, sorry, my choice. I'm saving the person's life.
And what they're trying to do to you right now, telling you to stop doing what you're here while you're saving people's lives.
Same thing.
Same thing.
We're fighting that same battle as Jerry is, absolutely.
Yeah. And like, what was that, like 2,000 people there?
Where?
Whitewood?
No,
Like
when Jerry was there was approximately 1,000 people in Whitewood, and he had a membership of 1,000 people.
So he had pretty
and
much
that was not
town,
that was not all of the people of Whitewood.
Okay, so
that was a considerable number of people that were living in towns surrounding Whitewood as well.
Okay.
But it was,
Yeah, it's a small place. I've been there. I've seen you.
But it was a large amount of the people. Most of the people from Whitewood. I don't know what the statistics. Jerry would tell you if he was here.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a lot of people relying on him, and coming from miles away in many cases to rely on him and what he was doing. It was just wrong then. It's wrong now. It just couldn't be more wrong. I mean, this is such a travesty of justice where our public servants somehow think that it's okay to spend whatever the bill is. Like, it must be in the millions of dollars already.
Yeah.
With 40 court appearances.
Yeah.
Every one of those has got to cost a lot of money just to turn the lights on, let alone pay the judge and all the people working there and everything else.
Yeah.
And the lawyers, and Jerry's got to pay lawyers every time too.
Yeah.
And then, all the cost of the prosecutor who's putting in hours and hours and hours. I mean, how much has he been billing, over 4 years? Now it's another prosecutor who has to get up to speed on the first. So all that work that the first prosecutor did never ended up in going to court.
No, he
researched and got paid for 4 years of trying to put Jerry behind bars, but never managed to make it into court to do it. Yeah. And now some new prosecutor comes along that has to get up to speed on the whole thing. And now that prosecutor, thankfully, has suggested that Jerry probably won't go to jail. Well,
You think? But 4 years of stress and wearing the guy down.
And what are they going to fine him? Is he going to get some further fine after already taking everything that he had? How much is that fine going to be?
Yeah.
Like, what are they going to fine Jerry? Subject to the damage he did. Well, then it would be like minus millions of dollars because he helped so many people
maybe
and didn't hurt nobody, didn't cost anybody anything.
Maybe some community service.
But. So So let's just say $10,000.
Yeah.
So what's $10,000 going to do to get us as taxpayers back?
Yeah.
The million plus or whatever dollars we've already spent on the case today, and it's not over yet.
It's not going to do anything.
So we're not getting our millions of dollars back by Jerry giving us $10,000 as a fine.
No.
And Jerry, having to go through all of this isn't going to be a fucking better person for it.
No.
You're not turning a criminal into a nice guy. We're turning a nice guy into somebody who's gone fucking crazy, over and over again during the course of this.
Because of the stress.
No, of course. Yeah. The stress has just been horrible for him. He's had so many different, events. He's been trying his best to deal with it. He's gone through all kinds of different therapies and trying hard as a person could. Yeah. To get back what he had, which was a feeling of being okay and a feeling of doing good for people and a feeling like he's, a contributing member of our society, right? Like all of this 4 years of just being chased like he's a fucking criminal. He can't leave the country and go visit his dad. He can't do the things he wants to do. He's always got this over his head. He's always trying to find ways to pay lawyers and always thinking that he shouldn't even fucking continue. Like, days where that's it, I'm done. Yeah. I mean, I can relate to all of that. And all of that's just being a cost to him that's not giving us a better human being in our communities. That's all a waste of our taxpayer dollars to a huge, huge degree for fucking nothing. For a guy who deserves a medal for what he did. He should be given a check for 10% of all the good that he did in his community. He deserves that. Yeah. And then he'd be rich.
The king of compassion's not getting any compassion from the Canadian government.
Exactly.
Right?
They're treating him like he's some sort of derelict criminal that was a leech on society.
Here's a man who would walk down the street and give $5 or $10, if you needed it, or he'd pay for your groceries when you're in line and stuff like that. That's why they call him the King of Compassion. And
Exactly.
No compassion from the government at all.
When he had, the resources, he gave back everywhere that he could. He like you say, he sought out everything that he could in his community.
Yeah.
The kids need to go to camp? Some of these kids can't afford to go to camp. I'm going to pay for them to go to camp. We don't have proper fire equipment. I'm going to pay for proper fire equipment. We have a rodeo coming through here once a year. I'm going to pay for an upgrade on the rodeo stuff so that people don't get hurt. And so it's on and on and on it went. He looked as hard as he could in his community for where he could give back and help. He looked for everywhere he could in the activist community. And gave back wherever he could, and earned the name King of Compassion, and yet for that still not recognized by our public servants as being a contributor to our society. And it is just one of the more horrific stories in Canadian history when you really look at it.
It is,
and a terrible, terrible example. So landlord's in the house.
Hey, landlord.
How you doing?
Happy birthday. You get my card?
Yeah, no.
Hey, well,
One-eye card?
Is there a card?
It might be a
Right there in
card.
front of you.
Could be in the bag.
This one.
That is the card.
You get chocolates and
Do we have another chair? Where's our other chair?
Yeah.
Stool, I don't know.
I don't know.
Where is it? Oh, no. It's always been there.
I see on this one. It's good.
Sure. Come on in.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I thought you could get free rent on your birthday.
49, eh?
Yeah, 49. Yeah,
I wish
sure.
to be 49 again.
With 7 more years experience of being 49.
Yeah, he's working hard on it. How long it take to get your master's in 49?
Wow.
Is it a 20-year project?
Is I'm 2 ounces old today.
Wow.
56 grams, yes.
Some Canadian weights.
Wow.
Yes.
30.
whatever that
I was
means.
wondering about that. How do we get that? 2 ounces?
60
28
grams.
Oh,
Yeah,
don't start talking that stuff. Jeez.
How do we get an imperial thing to a metric thing?
Wow.
We'll have to get a mathematician on the show, but that's not me.
How are you doing there, landlord?
I'm good, thanks.
That's good.
Each day is a battle with,
Have you had
waiting for the heart surgery. I've done more tests.
Have you had to go get a test because?
You remember the $6 million man? You do the treadmill?
Yeah.
Well, I was on the treadmill, but
They had you all hooked up with stuff?
I had more stuff in my mouth, a
Yeah.
tube in my mouth, and all on my chest, and man,
Wow.
it was quite. And I hate pills, man. I'd rather do medicinal.
Well, when it comes to
CBD.
your heart, though, there's
Yeah.
there's things, modern technology has not failed us to some degree with that.
But
and
doctors
so-
are known to make mistakes too.
Well, but you can't be thinking about that.
Oh,
Well, how's that going to help you?
yeah.
How would you not think about it when you're dealing with your heart?
Just be nice to them.
Yeah, the Grinch. The Grinch was my brother. He was green. I smoked the green.
Well, I've heard that they've got outbreak in the wards that you've been in, though. In the
Well,
heart
no,
ward.
they were on the 5th floor
Have you
last
been-
week in
Yeah.
the heart section.
At St.
back,
Paul's
but I was in the
Hospital?
pavilion.
You were in the pavilion.
In the
so I
lower
was wondering
section
about
in
that
the
when I
back. So
heard
it was
that.
good.
Yeah.
Everybody else, they were messaging me. Wow, thanks for your kind regards and concerns. Yeah, I was scared. I didn't know because you're wearing your mask. You're trying to do everything you ask you to do in the hospital, and
Wow, eh?
oh,
And that
and
comes
now
out. Yeah, I was
it
like,
breaks
oh,
out
shit.
in the heart room, eh?
Yeah,
That's supposed to
he
be a
was sitting
sterile
there.
room, very
Yeah.
sterile.
Yeah.
Like I was in the heart room twice before,
Huh.
and it's a very sterile. Everything is white. You can smell the cleanliness in there. Very.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
pretty
no.
You
neat,
can
eh?
smell the cleanliness in
Yeah.
many places these days.
Yeah.
You can walk in and smell the
Full
cleanliness.
Lysol or Pine
Yeah,
or
there's
something.
a lot of that being applied to our world. I'm not sure what the result of that will be either.
We're still on the THC show.
We
We're
are.
still on the THC
Wow.
show. So
Yeah.
the
Wow.
people-
Hey, people are saying hi to
It's
you.
been a while. Hey, landlord here.
Yeah.
Taxes, rent's due soon.
Thomas is saying hi to you. Marie Vandenberg is saying hi to you.
Hey.
Yeah, you know they're there.
Yeah.
Just wave at them over there. Yeah,
Oh, much love.
they're sitting right over there in their living room.
Let's spark this thing up, man.
Sure.
Is this
Yeah.
a hot show
you
or?
missed the big ones.
Yeah,
we got these other ones
there,
here.
you
Yeah,
know.
that one.
Sparkle, that's his.
Spark that up.
And that's,
Probably.
That's a Neil's.
Thank you. Yeah, I know.
Well, is that already finally?
Wait,
Yeah,
what
please,
show number are
please.
you on here
Yours
now,
is
Neil?
like-
This is show number 71, I think. isn't it?
71.
No, I don't know.
70?
It's not on.
68.
I have to
70.
check. I can't pull it up as a shooter.
I'm
I want
sure
to
I
ask
can
him the
go
question
over
this
there.
time. It's his
Look
show,
at
but I want to ask him the
YouTube
questions.
is
Let him be on the hot
67
seat for a change. Yeah.
So Next one is 69. Next week, 69.
What would you ask me? I don't believe you, Glenn.
Believe me.
I don't believe you.
Okay.
Well, you can
Shall we
find
look
it
it
at
up?
pot.tv.
There,
Look it up.
right.
It's easy.
But it's not up yet.
Pot.tv.
It won't. This won't be up until
But
it's
you'll
done.
see the last one, and the last one,
I know,
as you scroll down, you'll see the last one.
Showing you.
Yeah, I gotta re-add you to my account one day. Soon. But yeah, right on.
Okay.
Are you just saying happy
Why
birthday?
is it taking so long?
Oh, it's 67. Last one was out was
67.
66. What's out right there?
4 weeks ago.
No.
That's what it just
Oh,
said.
that's a month ago. Oh,
You're,
yeah.
you're not. You're not on
Sorry, well,
pot.tv.
that's the one that came on here.
Where's my phone? Is a good question. That's a good
Yeah.
question.
That's it.
So,
There.
well, if it's 4 weeks, it would be
Oh, yeah.
69.
We got it. I'm gonna show you. It's easy,
I don't
folks.
know. Yeah.
It's easy, folks. You go to
Yeah.
pot.tv.
There you go.
It's easy. It'll come up fast. If you're not there already, all these people already know.
And you
probably.
did your own show
I-
yesterday, eh?
Oh, I did a video at home, yeah.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, I
I
don't know
saw
about
part of
shows.
that
So
too.
there you go, pot.tv, and then it shows you the shows that we've been doing. And there's
Yeah.
that. There's my last
69.
one there. The last one was 69.
All right, so this
So
is
this
70.
is number 70.
There you
Wow,
go.
70 weeks of
There you go.
being
Wow.
on Pod TV.
Congrats on 70.
Yeah.
Whoever would have thought that could happen?
Well, it's like
Is
you're-
thunk a word?
Thunk is one of my words.
Okay.
There are words that are kind of unique to me.
so
I'm not going to go over a lot of them because
I
they're
was
from
up
a
in the
different
reefer
time.
van.
Yeah.
And,
That's like my sister who used to call a couch Couchterfield.
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 Wow.
I just came in from the reefer van, and boy, was it smoking.
Well,
Yeah?
yeah, I left one of these.
Well, yeah,
That's
well,
what's going on out there. Well,
Yeah.
maybe we should go
Sure.
out there.
Apparently
but
they're
before we
Boston
do that, I was
weed.
just updating people just before you came in, landlord, about Jerry Martin's case and,
Oh,
and the whole pursuit of access to medical dispensaries through a storefront. And so Jerry's been fighting this for 4 years. He's got a court date coming up April 26th. In conjunction with another couple of people in the dispensary business that have joined his pursuit for this as well, because it's a constitutional challenge, as well as his own trial for his possession and production or whatever he's been charged with. But
wow.
that's coming to the courts during that time. This is about whether or not people have the ability to go into a storefront and get the cannabis products that they might need for their own medical issues. And for those people that don't have access to go online, who don't have bank accounts, who, many of the different barriers that people face in accessing this. And so that's what his constitutional challenge is all about. And that's coming up April 26th,
Yeah,
28th.
that's the day before my
And
son's
we'll update
birthday.
more about that as we go forward.
Yeah, my birthday is July 30th, so you guys prepare for the
Yeah,
landlord.
and you've got some time to get him something,
Yeah.
is what he's saying.
If it's green, you can have an acre of land, no problem.
So,
What
should
do
we
you think we should drive out there for his thing and do a show out there? It would be April, it'd be nice weather to drive. Maybe go out there, support him. I could work the camera.
Here we are in January. We're
Yeah.
waiting for the federal government to give us our permission to be back in the store. They said it could happen early January, which is over by the end of this
Yeah.
week, I'm sure. But maybe we get that.
Yeah.
If we got that
That'd be nice.
within a couple months, maybe we could be settled in here enough, and I could feel
Yeah.
free enough to go and do something like that. In the meantime, I kind of have to stay right here all the time to answer to anybody that wants to come and
Or
interfere here.
maybe
So
I could be man on the scene too.
you could do that for us.
Yeah,
That's a plan.
an
That's
idea,
something we
too.
could do.
All I
I'm just
have to do-
concerned with
all I have to
myself
do is
getting
ask.
away in the near future. I've got so much on my plate.
Isabel's mom, but she's really cooperative, so I'm sure we can maybe do something like
We'll
that. yeah.
absolutely do something like that, and
Yeah.
maybe if you're willing to go there,
Sure.
maybe we can help you out and get.
I don't
something
mind
like that.
driving. I love driving. So
We're gonna get to that cake
yeah,
at
let's
some
go.
point.
Let's go and see the people in the van. You're
Should we
saying
take the cake out there?
sure, or we can take slices.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's just leave that here. We can come back for slices after the
We
show.
might
or
not get
something.
back here if we do that.
You want me,
I think.
you want me to
I
slice
think
it up for you?
No, I think we have the technology and the crew to do it, and we'll just go to the RV with. That's the reefer van for those of you who don't know what RV stands for.
I need a
And we'll get them to cut it. We'll bring the plates and the forks, and I'll bring a knife. And we can do all of this.
Well, I don't know. Cake in an RV seems like.
A wonderful idea. I couldn't agree more, Neil.
John Murray says the score will be 7-5 Canucks. He's texting me.
There could be high scoring, but I think the goalies are going to shine. I think the goalies have an advantage early on as players start, get used to playing with each other at full NHL speed. But we'll see.
I will bring these.
I love to think that we got all these players they're going to score each of them 2 or 3 goals per game, so we're going to win by 9. But then, it doesn't happen most times. So that's what happens when an optimist does those things. So, yeah. I'm not going to take that away. What about your balloons?
I will. I'm going to put those in the car and we get back.
Alright. This is good TV, isn't it?
No, this is like real TV. Remember the show, Real TV?
It's a reality show for sure. Out into the downtown east side on a rainy Tuesday evening.
When are you guys moving back in there?
As soon as the government says we can, they're just waiting for them.
Everybody's getting used to this.
We're doing a live broadcast right now. Somebody will want to buy that off you probably. I hope you didn't steal it. But that's, another story. So here we are. This is the reefer van, the hippy dippy RV with the lovely Jen at the window there.
Brought the cake out of here.
We brought the cake. We got the balloons.
Where?
Beautiful. There you go. Suck those things in there. Good. Do we have a knife in there that'll cut slices of this thing, Yeah. All right. I figured we would. All right, Andrew. Coming at you. Beautiful handoff.
Did you? Oh wow.
I'm not looking for it now.
No, but you're awfully wet now.
We need light. We need as much light as we can, and we don't have enough right now.
No, we've
probably.
got lights right here, Neil. All of these ones that are out are all got brand new batteries in them. Alright. Just waiting.
I see. Put a little light on the subject. I've been told I do some of my best work in the dark, but that's a whole other story.
So am I supposed to be?
Hey, Glenn.
Yeah.
You should come in here.
All right.
You should absolutely come in here. Got his balloons. Either that or we stole all of his balloons and his cake, and we're going to leave him out in the rain. So, all right, here we are. And what this is the van that we're helping people get access to cannabis with. Since we have not been able to do it from the storefront that we were in before. And there's quite a background to that story. And I kind of give this background every time, but I guess that's how this story has to go. Because the show really lately has been a lot about the quest for low barrier access community cannabis stores in this world of so-called legalization, where the government has government stores for allowing people to get cannabis that is for non-medical purposes in their view. And those people that are needing to access it on a daily basis for medical purposes, and in the case of a lot of what our focus is for people that are down and out, living in poverty, struggling with addiction to opioids and other street drugs, cannabis is a way out of that. The high dose edibles help people get off of opioids, help them get through the withdrawal, and then either the high dose edibles or the concentrates can help people use that instead of the other drugs after withdrawal. It's been well documented. Dr. M.J. Malloy has been doing studies for the last couple of years out of UBC. The evidence is mounted over and over again. It's crystal clear. The jury is back in a long time ago. Cannabis is a gateway off of the opioids and the hard drugs, and people have been using it as such for a long time through our program. We run a program called the Cannabis Substitution Program. That's how this all really started. Was almost 4 years ago now. By this time, 4 years ago, I had presented the idea to VANDU, the Vancouver Area Network of Drug Users, the advocacy group funded by Coastal Health that looks after the needs of the people that are being exploited by the drug war and that are suffering these sorts of issues. And I had presented it to the Vancouver Police Department, to their board, to the City Council, and about a month from now, 4 years ago, went to VANDU with boxes full of donations and started handing them out, and did that, oh very good, Glenn's birthday cake, did that every year for, every Saturday for a full year with a real good team of volunteers that had assembled during that time. And we were giving out hundreds of care packs to a long lineup once a week. The lineup was the issue. The amount that we were giving out was a bit of an issue, so I presented again to the VANDU board that perhaps we could do it on 3 other days, none of them being Saturday, try and disperse the lineup. And we were given 2 days, none of them Saturday, and that was Thursdays and Sundays. And so for 2.5 more years, we met every Thursday and every Sunday at VANDU, just up from Main and Hastings here, to a long lineup of people each time. About 300 care packs we would give out with 4 to 6 edibles and a couple of joints. It took the City of Vancouver 2.5 years into our project of almost 4 years now to pass a motion based on our work and based on the studies and the reports being released by Dr. M.J. Malloy and others. But they passed a motion unanimously to support and allow for low barrier access to cannabis to address the overdose issue. That prompted us to have a meeting with the city to, in the course of that meeting, come to an understanding that we would find a storefront for our project, that we would also provide low barrier access to cannabis and try to suit the needs of the community as we understood them to be, and that upon doing that, the city would come and assess us and then support and license us in what we were doing. It took us a year to find a landlord that would rent to a place that was going to sell cannabis outside of the Cannabis Act. We did do that in June, and in June we opened the Healing Wave in a collaboration with the Serious Hope Society and the Cannabis Substitution Project, and provided cannabis in the form of for sale and as a program to allow people to have 420 milligrams of high-dose edibles every 4 days that are part of the program, and other people could come and purchase, and they could purchase as well at low cost comparatively to anything else that's out there, to allow them to use cannabis on a daily basis in a way that's affordable. It wasn't long into doing that rather than the city staff coming and seeing what we were doing and assessing us, we had the licensing department come and threaten us and our landlord. That eventually resulted in the landlord taking us to court, feeling under threat from the city. A judge who decided that he shouldn't give us an adjournment and some time to have Health Canada process our comprehensive application that we had put in under an emergency basis, knowing that we were possibly facing an eviction. And so that eviction happened. We immediately transitioned into this reefer van, the RV. And we've been helping people with the program and with low barrier access ever since, and that's been 10 weeks now. We have had good conversations, or a good conversation, with the Special Licensing and Exemptions branch of Health Canada just before Christmas. It was a very positive conference call that we had, our lawyer and ourselves, and I can't thank John Conroy enough for the work that he's done on our behalf throughout all of this. It's been amazing, and he, like I say, there's just not enough words to thank him for his efforts. He's been spectacular and amazing, and at no cost, and I can't thank him enough. And he's presented in such a professional way this case that we have, where we've been helping people and demonstrating for all of this time that what we're doing is effective, that high-dose edibles gets people through withdrawal, that high-dose edibles and concentrates can supplement the play or substitute the use of the other hard drugs. And so we should be supported by government. It should be a no-brainer. It should be easy and quickly done by government to recognize, especially with the experts that we have on board that have written letters, including Dr. Malloy, including city councilors, including Professor Zachary Walsh, and so that it should be a real quick no-brainer, at least the exemption part. I understand, based on the Cannabis Act and the licensing and the regulations that's going on from the federal to the provincial levels and even at the municipal level with respect to cannabis retail, that it's a bit complicated to give us licenses in the face of that, because that is twisted, perverted, and corrupt, and really can't stand the test of having something realistic and reasonable be beside it, which is what we're trying to offer here and what we're asking to be licensed here. But because of all of that, it's complicated to work out how the licenses are going to work for us and our suppliers. But that can be done at any time and in the pace that it takes. In the meantime, we need to be given just a ministerial exemption to continue the work that we've been doing, to continue to rescue people from this neighborhood and from this plight of addiction that is happening here, and people are coming from all over to obtain our services here and have throughout the almost 4 years that we've been running this program. And so we need to be supported by government in that. We're asking them, we're pleading with them. Now before Christmas, they said very positively that they were going to be helping us with that, and it should happen in early January. We're getting really close to the end of early January now, and so you know, we're very hopeful still that we will be able to move back into the storefront. I mean, we're still here. We honestly haven't been harassed in over a month now, which is really good. And I imagine that the police are just waiting for Health Canada to make their decision as well before they decide what to do. But in the meantime, we have defied the police in demanding that we stop doing what we're doing, and that we told them that we can't in all good conscience do that. We're a society of people who understands that we hold the balance of about 250 people's lives in our hands, and that's not even counting the hundreds of other people that are accessing us that are not part of the program that we have, that these people are in, that rely on us for their 420 milligrams of edibles every 4 days. That in all good conscience, it would be not something we could do as ethical human beings to stop doing what we're doing. But, we've been threatened with arrest and with the seizure of our vehicle and fines and other things, but not for the past month. But it's cold and it's wet, and it's not easy to access for people that need to get us here coming to the RV. Our ability to serve people is diminished greatly by being here. We no longer provide a safe space for people, which our store certainly was, and which is so needed in this community, and for the people that are suffering from all sorts of afflictions, not the least of which is our mental health issues. And we have a very compassionate staff, a very patient staff that understands how to give people the best help that we can give them when they're distraught and in situations like that. And in our storefront, we had the ability to do that, and here we're very limited in that. We do, of course, do that, but it's jumping out of the RV, standing many times in the rain, and I'm sure in many cases people just not even coming here because this isn't an inside space that they can come to and feel safe. And so we need to get back in the store. It should be easy for government to do that. It should be done quickly, what we would hope. We're not just relying on Health Canada, but we're also in contact with them and asking them almost on a daily basis now. So fingers crossed, it could be any day, maybe tomorrow. We'll be given our exemption, and we're fairly confident that having the exemption in hand, we will be able to get the city to give us our license. We will certainly go back in and open up the store and start helping out this neighborhood the way we were before, and even better than that. So that's what's going on with all of this. So I've been just yabbering on here because I want to give everybody the history of how we got to where we are, and that's pretty much it in a nutshell. But this is my fine crew of sidekicks that have been, the real meat and bones.
Busy eating cake.
Yes. I just said they wanted something. I just said let them eat cake.
Yeah, let there be cake.
Yes.
Yes. Show me the cake.
It's
great.
delicious.
It's good. Thank you very much, Carly. This cake is really
Thank you,
delicious.
Carly.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
it melts
Very
in your
nice.
mouth. It's
Oh,
very
boy.
creamy. It's very nice.
Excellent.
It's
Yeah,
messy and
it is.
delicious.
It's messy and delicious. Yeah. I think Jen likes things that are messy and delicious.
So if we got these characters over here, that's Andrew, for those of you who don't know. We always have new people watching the show every week. And there's George in the back.
Yep.
He's down out the back door is where we do the edibles program.
CSP.
The CSP. And that's Jen there, obviously. Everybody knows Jen. Even if you've never seen the THC show, I'm sure you've seen her on social media. She has a great blog where she describes some of the things that go on here every day and how we're helping people, and all about the cats that she has and other things like that. If you watch the show at the beginning this week, one of her cats is one of our cats, and that's Kato. And he was, I think he was in a couple of shots earlier, and he's just the most amazing cat. So anyway, this is the crew over there. So how's the day been today?
It's been good.
Very busy at CSP.
Been busy, yeah?
It's been very busy.
So a lot of people coming for their 420s?
Yes, they are. A lot of people in a row too. I've had 3 or 4 in a row each time. It's busy. And we're helping them out. It's raining out there. We got to help them out, right?
Yeah.
It's miserable out there.
Any feedback on the 420? Are people still really thankful for getting what they're getting?
They're very thankful. Every time they come, they thank us for everything, for being here.
Yeah.
They know where we are now. And they knock on the door. I give them ask them what their name is. I lift them up.
Yeah.
A few of them to donate a few bucks.
Yeah,
every time
I've
they're
had
here.
lots of people donating, so whatever they can donate.
Nice.
They say that's the way to give back and say thanks for all the help you guys are doing, right? For all the little things you guys do around here, thanks very much, they say. They love it.
A lot of comments we get about how it's really helped them get off of the hard drugs
Yeah.
and other things like that.
Yeah.
It's been a real wonderful experience in that respect.
Yes.
We're kind of, life is all about balance, and sometimes we get so much bad stuff that we see going on out here, so many people that we see that are in trouble,
Yeah.
and yet we get to feel like we're doing something at least for helping a lot of them, and that we're here for anybody that wants to come and get help.
Well, and I just want to mention, they talk about the opiate crisis, yes, but there's also people addicted to crystal meth and other things that
Oh, yeah,
are
for sure.
getting off that stuff as well here.
Well, and fentanyl also affects those other substances around in this neighborhood as well.
Yeah.
And so it is about opioids
It's
and other
laced
street
into
drugs.
everything.
And we got 260 people or so in our program. We got about 300 people on a waiting list that we had to stop adding names to because we weren't going to be able to get to those for quite a while. But nobody leaves
People
empty-handed.
asking all the time, they're like, I put my name on the list months ago. Do I get in the program yet?
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking having to say, no, I'm sorry, we still don't have enough donors to be able to
But
have
nobody
people.
walks away empty-handed.
They always get a cookie.
Everybody
and a
gets a joint. Everybody gets at least one cookie. Anybody that looks like they're really in trouble, if they come and say that they want to get through the night and they're feeling drug sick,
They get a stronger
they
cookie.
get
or
a
an
stronger
extra one
cookie or
Mike's.
2 or 3 cookies. Mike the Cookie Monster has been instrumental for all the years of our program, really.
Even my friend with the
early
stroke
on.
said his
And,
cookies are really helping her.
So let
He helped
me
her
see
carry
one of
her
those.
shit home the other day.
Can I have a pair of, haul one out with a pair of tongs there.
Yeah, tongs.
And then hold that up there.
I still want to ask you. For
So
your
this
share.
is one of Mike's cookies. And he puts a lot of love into those cookies. He puts a lot of really good stuff in. He doesn't put nuts in there, so he doesn't
Healthy.
No,
have to
the
worry
nuts are
about that.
already in here.
yeah, the nuts are already in here.
I think that's just what I love.
I'll second that one. But yeah, because he really understands that nutrition is a big part of people's lacking down here. So to get good nutrition in them is a good. There's lots of cake available, but there's not a lot of
the
the good
chocolate
nutritious.
chunks are so good. My goodness.
Oh my, this cake is amazing.
Really good cake.
Yeah,
I came with 1 cake and I'm going home with 2.5.
no, that's what you think. So, yeah, and so that's kind of what we do. Is we're here for people like we've got the regular people that come and see us, many of them every day, and they get to come every 4th day. And then we've got these other people that are told about us, and they come here and we talk to them. We give them what they need. We still got socks available for people. We've had clothing giveaways over the Christmas times, which has been really good. We've got coats for people if they need them. other things. We regularly have food available, sometimes infused food. We've got Evan and Mackenzie that have even started a foundation of gathering donations of food and providing it not only here but other places now. And we've got other people working with us, a Korean church that donates a whole bunch of stuff to Smoke Signals that allows us access for our bakers and for the food giveaways that we have as well. So it's been a really wonderful last couple of months here, actually, out in the RV, being able to help people. I mean, the whole 7 months really has been a wonderful experience as far as how we've affected this neighborhood. The streets are clean here, the sidewalks are clean. We give people remuneration for keeping it that way, and they just kind of want to anyway. There's a lot of people looking after us in this neighborhood that care about us, that come here and tell us how much they want to help and they want to volunteer, and that they're telling people good things. And so it's a real wonderful project. It's much bigger than just this neighborhood. It's much bigger than the needs of this neighborhood and how we're able to help them with access to cannabis, especially high-dose edibles. This is a situation that's going on all across North America, certainly all across Canada, even in British Columbia. Most of the small cities are affected by the overdose crisis. It's an epidemic in its proportions. There's people dying from all walks of life. And what is required is easy access to cannabinoids, to especially high-dose edibles. And by easy access, it means a variety of different things. Low barrier means a variety of different things. It means that people that don't have proper ID still get to access, because that's a very vulnerable part of our society that needs to be able to access. People that don't have credit cards or a bank account or a telephone or computers or all of those sorts of abilities, they need to be able to access. Ordinary everyday people that just decide that they want to have a daily regimen of cannabis and don't have a lot of income, they need to be able to access. So the price of cannabis has to be reasonable, and access needs to be easy. And so for all of these variety of reasons, this is a very big issue that we have going on right here, right now. We have an application into the federal government, a very comprehensive application that should result in a category of cannabis retailers that provides low barrier access the way that we're doing here, without the levels of taxation, because we can't be putting the taxes onto the people that we're trying to help when the very reason we can't help them is because the prices are too high. There's no need to put taxes onto a commodity that's going to help people in their lives, save us as a society money. Those things should be supplemented and encouraged, not taxed. So there needs to be a new category of stores, a community-based cannabis store that relies on trusted sources that have easy ability to get licenses because they are trusted, and an easy way to figure out who can be reliable and trusted. And there's never been a big issue with cannabis being not safe in the first place. But anybody running a community-based cannabis store that's dealing with the community and dealing with people with medical issues would take it upon themselves to be responsible in how it is and what it is that they're putting out to their clientele. So all of these things need minimal regulation, they need minimal government oversight, they need to be allowed, they need to be encouraged, and to start that process, we need to have what we're doing exempted, licensed, and then propagated into these other communities where they can also rescue their family members and their young people and their elderly and all of the people that are suffering right now because of restricted access to what is this life-saving medicine. All of that can be turned around if we can be allowed to have community-based cannabis stores, and that's what this is really all about. So I hope that you will help us in our pursuit of that. There's several different ways that you can do that. Certainly people have a lot of time on their hands these days. We're all connected with computers and with cell phones, and it's as easy as picking up your Android, your smartphone, or sitting at your computer and just banging off an email to the Justice Minister or the Health Ministry or Health Canada or your local politician or the local police chief or the media or friends of yours or anybody. But these are important times. This is a really important issue This is at the forefront of what freedom means to us as people, and this is at the forefront of what governments of us is all about, and what the role of public servants is going to be for us as we move into the future, and who has control of us as individuals and the choices that we make if we're not hurting anybody else, and what do we want to be paying our governments for, what services do we want from them, and where do we want them to not be interfering in our lives where they are now in ways that are harming us, harming society, and only benefiting the corporate elite, which is unfortunately how our system has evolved over a long period of time, with the corporate elite continuing to be able to affect the way that we elect politicians and how those politicians behave once they're in those positions. It's time we revisited all of that. This is the big issue that exposes how all of that is so wrong and just how corrupt they all are. I mean, not allowing a life-saving medicinal herb to be accessed easily and affordably in the face of an epidemic where people are dying. I mean, just how much more wrong can it all get? So let's use these times to really refocus ourselves and to try to get for ourselves what we need to have moving forward in a world with so many different, possibilities that aren't good. We need to have public servants that are working for us. We need to have rules and regulations for them that protect us. And we need to be recognized as free individuals and able to make whatever choices we want unless we're harming someone else. So that's what this pursuit is all about. We're hoping that the saga for the pursuit of the community-based cannabis store with low barrier access will be over soon, and we won't have too many more episodes of updating you other than the fact that we've now got what we need and we're moved back into our store. But in the meantime, that's what we're doing here, and you can tune in next week to see just where we're at in that. Maybe by then we will have had that piece of paper with a signature on it, and the pressure will be off, and we'll be very, very excited and probably eating more cake to celebrate that.
I still have one of those big cigars, so I'll probably bring one of those to celebrate.
Oh, we will celebrate big time when that happens. It's the right thing to do. It's too bad it has to be such a struggle to get it, from public servants who really should recognize we're just doing the right thing and helping people.
People say nothing's worth getting unless you do a bit of a struggle for it, right?
Well, it'll be worth it when we get there. I know that, and we'll celebrate when we get there, and I will cry when we get there.
Well, thank you very much for doing this birthday thing, and thank you to everybody who gave edibles for my thing. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Glenn. You're worth every moment of the birthday celebration.
I keep telling everybody, it's so ironic that I used to stand in the crowd at the art gallery and watch you sing, and now we're friends and we're on a show together. It's like, it's so weird how life comes around.
Life is very surreal. I find it surreal that I'm doing a show, let alone 70 of them. And, I resisted for a long time.
Wow.
And, but,
They say resistance is futile.
Well, it's not really my thing, If anybody probably watching, you can tell that I'm not the most polished of hosts.
You're doing just fine.
But it's from my heart. It's how I feel. It's what I got to do because I care about these issues. It's very important. We're all dust in the wind in the end, so maybe none of it all matters. But in the meantime, there's people, and there's our future, and there's our children's future, and there's how that's all going to be. And we can see that it can go many different ways. And I don't want this to go sideways, and my best idea that I've had so far is to expose this of all things that is so obvious that it should never be allowed to have gotten to where it is. It should not be where it's at, and that's the whole attempt to prohibit and restrict access to cannabis of all things. And so if our public servants can still be called servants and still try to prevent us accessing what is such a beneficial commodity for us, then we are not free, especially if they're using the criminal law against us to try to restrict us.
And it's been such a lie that our governments believe it, and they want to protect us. They think they're protecting us because they've grown up with other governments, and their parents say that it was bad. So,
there's been a lot of lies for a long time, and some people believe them, and some people know they're doing bad, and some people really just they're protecting other interests. I don't know, but I do know there's a whole bunch of different reasons for it, but it's as wrong as can be. I got to do something about it. I've been afforded this amazing opportunity of having friends that I've met and people that I've been involved with and helping to organize 420, for example, as you say, and you know,
I'm
many
19
other things.
years clean today of crack because of cannabis.
Beautiful.
19 years today.
Yeah, man,
Good.
that's
Right.
awesome. And
Yeah.
so many people I know have that same testimonial.
29
You know,
years no smoking
So-
cigarettes.
Well, one guy that
So-
just, he was like
I know I
50
gabbed it
cents
on,
short
so I
for a
did not
joint.
rip it
I
off.
was like, that's fine, man. He's like, I'll
Yeah.
pay you tomorrow, I promise.
Yeah.
And I was like, do you want a cookie? And he's like, oh yeah, please. So I gave him 2. And he's like, thank you. He's like, seriously, he's like, you're keeping at least one guy off the hard stuff.
yeah. Every day we keep at least one person off the
So
hard
many
stuff.
stories. I
And
love
more.
That's
it.
what makes it one day, one
I
person
swear,
makes it worthwhile.
my addiction
You-
is those fucking stories. Like, it
Yes.
makes me smile. It makes
Yeah.
my heart fucking feel warm and fuzzy.
Yeah.
It
So-
makes me happy.
We just can't stand the fact that we have to be fighting for the right to do this. and
Yeah.
that
Right?
We're not
Yeah.
we're not in the store that we should
Fighting
be
for the
in.
right to do
Since when
something
is
right.
saving lives a crime?
Yeah, there's no crime going
I
on
don't
here.
understand that.
Our hands are not dirty. These are angels that you know, sacrifice so much of their time and effort and put their heart into what they're doing here, and we really care about the people we're helping. And so that the government should recognize that. They've never even been here to see what we're doing, and yet they think they get to judge as to whether or not we should. And in the
Yeah.
meantime, we shouldn't until they make up their mind. Well, that just isn't, you know, what we can accept. So that's why we keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah, I'd love for them to spy on us.
Yes,
see what
please.
we're doing. See,
You
them,
know.
see us
And
giving
I've
out
been-
free
I've been where
food
they've been.
and free clothing, free socks. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, we're so horrible.
I know.
Yeah.
I've been out there,
Yeah.
I know what it's like.
If your son or daughter is, you know, missing and on somewhere on the downtown east side and struggling with addiction issues, we're helping them. We're here to help them, and you know, we need to be able to continue to do that, you know, easily and without restriction and without interference. And with a little bit of help from government instead of interference, we could do great things here. We have great plans to do more. So that's what we're all about. That's what this show is all about because of all of that. But we're not the only show on Pot TV. You know, I've been very blessed to have the opportunity to be able to work with cannabis culture and Pot TV over the years, and be afforded the chance to spout my truth for, you know, a couple hours once a week. But Pot TV also has some other very informative and educational and entertaining shows. It starts on Monday with Carly Marley and BC Bud Gal with the 420 Lifestyle. Wednesday, right after my show, we've got Greg Williams with From Under the Influence. Greg's the longest running show on Pot TV because Greg's been around forever. He's smoked more weed than anybody else. He's traveled the world and smoked weed more than anybody else. He's marijuana man because he earned that title a long time ago and has a very good perspective on what's going on in the world and a very interesting take. So join him on Wednesdays starting around 4 o'clock. On Thursdays, early 10 a.m., Morning Glory, BC Bud Gal. On Fridays, Johnny B. How's it growing? I don't know how it's growing now, but if you follow him, you'll know how it's growing, and he'll tell you how it's growing. I'm sure it's growing very well. Johnny has great guests and gives out great information in a world where we should all be growing if we can. Why the hell not? And we're even allowed to grow some.
He
But
even wished me happy birthday today. Johnny made that was very nice of him.
very nice. Johnny's a wonderful man.
Yeah.
And so Saturday we've got High Noon with Boss Livsa with, guess what, that's at noon. So High Noon with Boss Livsa, and she has guests on from here to there. I'm not sure what she's doing. Check her out and see. Sunday's the day you get to go back and watch the shows you missed. Hopefully it wasn't my show, but you never know. If you did, THC show every Tuesday starts around 4 o'clock. We try to be pretty sharp at 4, not always, but you know. And we'll continue to update you as to how we're doing here and how it's going with the fight for medical access to, or for access to medical cannabis. And we'll continue to hotbox the reefer van with this amazing cast of characters.
With non-shatter joints.
We're smoking a pretty
People
crazy
matter.
joint right now.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
are.
these are epic times that hopefully won't be lasting too much longer before we can have more epic times in a real store again.
You know, I think
And-
we'll have to come back and hotbox it even after the store just to be nostalgic.
I think, we will, I think even if we get the store, we would continue this as an outreach vehicle.
Yeah, that
and
would
we'd
be
probably
great.
still have a crew of people doing
that.
what we're doing here,
love
which
what
is
we're
having
doing.
as much fun as we can. And that's what I recommend that you do as well, you know. I mean, these are tough times. These are times that we all need to be thinking about our own mental health and our own well-being and the mental health and the well-being of other people as well. Be kind to each other, be tolerant of each other, and above all else, no matter what, always have as much fun as you can till I see you next.
Cheers.